expectations to me are always what we want to have happen. We're not voicing it, we're not communicating it, and it's usually 10 times higher than we really can receive in the moment. Standards are core values to me. The standards are, these are my values, right? And if you're not going to honor, like respect is a huge core value for me, freedom is a huge core value for me, integrity, if those aren't honored, then I feel totally disrespected. So that's where I would say a standard comes in. A need to me, this is just again what my thoughts are, and we can open this up for discussion. A need for me would be if it's something I'm needing from another person, then I want to also say, what is that need coming from? Where is that trigger stemming from? Why is that need there? And how do I want somebody to fill it and why? Like I would say if there's a need, there's something deeper to be looked at. And here's something I want to then bring to the table. Is that an expectation or an intention? Because we can have an intention that we want somebody to meet us at a point or understand us. We were talking about standards and how standards need to be set, but I'm wondering, instead of that expectation that, again, you can't even see where my hand is, right? How are you supposed to know what my hand looks like? Because my expectation is so high up here. But what if it's like, what if it's an intention? So I'm going to throw it out then and say, what if we were to set an intention, how we're hoping to have a relationship with a partner? So we're not saying you, like say I was dating Susan, you have to be like this because that's my expectation. So Susan, you have to like Afrobeat music because I do. And you're like, but wait, I love country, right? So fluid. But if our expectations are so high, what if it's an intention? So what if I went in and said, I have an intention that I would love to be able to dance with my partner, right? That I have playfulness with my partner, that I have joy, and that we could dance in the kitchen together. How would that sit differently than an expectation? If they get to hear, we think there's failure. So how do we navigate and how do we allow for a little bit of lowering, not to lower your standards, but to lower a little bit to allow the flow, let's say, of the date compared to saying, well, you're not up here. Like if you're not doing improv on Saturday Night Live, I don't want you when it comes to laughter. And I'm just saying, but this is where with expectations, I'm curious with how high our expectations really are. So one of my questions is when you think about dating, what expectations are you carrying in? And not only for the other person, but for yourself. And this is what I want to bring to the table. Because when we have all these high expectations, we can actually stop just enjoying the date. We'll get to a place where we're not in the mode of allowing another person to be who they are, right? We have this thought that they have to be like this, or I'm not going to be happy, right? Or they have to reach those heights, or this date wasn't a success at all. And I'm just wondering if we're kind of sabotaging ourselves. Are we giving ourselves an opportunity to really see what's out there? I'll give you like a little bit of mine. I just, and with doing this topic, I'm always looking at myself as well. I do the work as much as I've been teaching this for years. I realized when I started dating, I was on 3 dates with a gentleman. And I realized now I expect him to call me in the morning or text me a good morning. And I also want conversation at night before I go to sleep. Now, throughout the day, I'm busy, they're busy, whatever. But I thought, oh my God, I have this expectation that if there's more than 3 dates, I feel like I got some momentum happening, but now I want texts in the morning and I want texts in the evening. And if they don't, then I start to question myself. And Susan, I think I put that on the discussion in our meetup and you said, hey, conversation, you commented on that saying it's not a bad thing, but it's an expectation. And that's where I had to get myself into check. So again, we have the bar set so high that an expectation, nobody understands what those expectations are unless we voice them as well. So again, let's use my example for right this moment. If I'm dating someone and I can say, hey, you know what? I really, really appreciate it if I get a text in the morning and a text at night that just even says, hey, have a great day. I know I'm thought of. I know there's a connection. It makes me feel good throughout the day because, words are my love language. If I voice that, then I think I'm removing to some degree, a high expectation because they'll never reach it because I have it so freaking high. But at least if that person says, hey, I'm going to be gone for the next 48 hours, just so you know, have a great couple of days. I'll talk to you soon. Great. I'm good. Are we walking into a relationship believing it's going to be hard when we don't need to keep that expectation of that moving forward? Like, I'm just kind of wondering, are we at a, and I'm putting this out there, are we at a place in our lives that we can let go of a need or belief that relationships are hard? And what if we believed that the next relationship will be seamless and effortless and joyful and beautiful and loving and respectful? And again, it doesn't mean we won't get some bumps here or there because we're two independent people coming into a relationship at this point. But I'm wondering, do you think that's an expectation? Maybe should that be a standard? I really do feel like what Susan says is that you've been there, you've learned so much. What if you could take a gondola up the mountain and not have to climb it? How would that feel? And what if you had someone with you that wanted to go with you at the same speed compared to trying to push you down the hill every time you take two steps up? And I think this is where we are in life, is we have that choice. But it does start with us. It starts with us, I think, really doing the work. I really do truly believe the more we work on ourselves and the more we heal our own heart, the easier it will be, because we always attract people to us to teach us something about ourselves. And if we're getting smacked in the head, then there's some big lessons still to be learned. Where if we really do our work, I'm a big believer in self-love first, date yourself first. And when we date ourselves first and we find self-love and we really heal some of those deep wounds and triggers, then for one, you're not going to attract the same vibration of person. And then two, if you do get triggered by something, it's usually a softer trigger than some of the old heavy triggers. And we're not getting smacked in the head with something. It's like, oh, here's something to look at again. How do I want to move forward with this? Don't you find life so much easier when we can just communicate what our needs are? Because even if we had to communicate those expectations, if the other person's like, yeah, whoa, that's too much for me, or I can't handle that right now, then you'd be like, oh, what can you handle? What could work? How, and then you've got communication. So yeah, I'm feeling that's kind of a good key. All right. So let me ask you this. If you were to release one expectation today so that you could go, let's say you got invited out on a date this weekend coming, what in your mind do you think that you could let go of right now, that you could walk into a date? Doesn't have to be a full out relationship, but just a date without an expectation. What would that expectation be? Like I removed my texting expectation. There's some of us that can jump in and some of us who like being an intuitive, I can feel so much. I can sense a spiritual connection sometimes first. So I can jump in. I'm a Pisces. I can jump in. But I've also learned, whoa, hold on. Let's take some time. And I have, and it's been beautiful. And so it might be finding that balance as well, and that fluidity. Now I'm at a place where I've thought and I've grown into, why rush? Like, for one, I love being single. And I can change here's something, I don't know if you followed on some of my socials, but I did something we can change the dating narrative. It doesn't need to be what we felt it was when we were in our 20s. So how we date now can look very, very different. And it's not about, okay, well, let's get moving and let's get married and white picket fences and 2.5 kids, and then you get the dog. Chances are we've done a lot of that. So now we're dating as these mature, let's say conscious, adults that have gone through heartbreak. We can say what we want that to look like. And I've met some people, that's all they want to do is date. They don't want commitment at this point in their life. I've met other people where they just want that mental emotional connection and they're not looking for physical. I've met other people that are all physical and they don't want that connection of mental emotional. So I think, again, this is where communication is going to help us tremendously.